One, two,
Standing
go.
by. You know it.
Here we go.
Hey, everybody, you're listening to the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz,
I'm Steve Morey.
And I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
and we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. Yes, we are coming to you on a Wednesday night, and no, this is not a regular episode. We have a loaded episode tomorrow, but when we were looking at everything, it kind of made sense to bust this out of what we have planned for tomorrow because we didn't want to have, potentially 3.5 hour show. So we are going to be talking tonight about the Marvels. And if you don't know what that is, it is the 33rd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe series of films. 33.
33.
Yeah.
33.
I still remember watching Iron Man in the theater.
Mhm.
Like that blows my mind. It also blows my mind that Bill just uses the phrase "loaded" and another. I forget what else you said, but in the same sentence a while ago, and we're just gonna let it slide.
Yeah, let it slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody
don't-
else will
Don't
mention
go
it, I'm
there.
sure.
Don't do that. We got
Oh.
enough of that stuff.
That's true. Steve. I've been hanging out with him too much. It's
So we'll be talking about the film tonight, but we do hope that you'll tune in tomorrow for our regular show. We have a guest coming on. We have a lot of news to get through. Just a lot of developments that have happened, including touching on the Marvels. We'll hold that discussion until tomorrow about how it factors into the news. But we did want to get an episode out and say what we felt about this film. Steve, you are our evergreen dude to take a film plot and provide a synopsis for us to get the conversation going. So I ask you, can you please do that again?
Well, I'll certainly try, and I'll try to keep it short because they do pack in a lot. This is one of the shorter Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but they do get a lot of sort of like plot stuff kind of squished in pretty much all over the place. So I'll try to summarize as much as I can. So Dar-Ben, who is the new leader of the Kree, finds one of a pair of quantum bands and uses it to try to restore her homeworld of Hala. Hala was destroyed after a very powerful civil war that more or less was kicked off by Captain Marvel herself when she destroyed the Supreme Kree intelligence. And so Dar-Ben is trying to use the quantum band as a way to steal resources from other planets to restore the pretty much almost completely destroyed planet of Hala. And in doing so, she's disrupting the grand jump gate network that spans through all the galaxies. And our
Explain what a
heroes
jump
are-
gate is, please.
So a jump gate, basically, if you've watched any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, you go right through jump gates to get to planets pretty easily, to get across galaxies, to get to other galaxies very easily and quickly in the sort of Marvel cosmic universe. But in any case, there's a jump gate that's near Earth, and in investigating that jump gate, Monica Rambeau, now part of Saber, and Captain Marvel over on the other side of the galaxy, also seeing a jump gate that's been opened up. They touch it, and their powers become entangled with the third Marvel, the third heroine here, who happens to own the other quantum band, and so, of course, is attuned to what's going on with what Dar-Benn is doing as well. So the three of them, their powers are entangled, and hilarity and confusion ensues when they, every time they use their powers, they basically swap locations wherever they are in the galaxy or in the universe. And the three of them together must, work together to find Dar-Benn and save basically the entire universe from collapsing in on itself as the jump gates get more and more unstable with each wormhole that Dar-Benn opens. It's just a lot of madcap adventuring, lots of fun power switching, some pretty cool fights that happen because of this trope of them switching themselves constantly. But also a lot of fun family shenanigans with Miss Marvel's wonderful family reappearing again from the Miss Marvel TV series on Disney Plus. Getting to spend the rest of the movie with good old Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury himself, up on the Saber space station. If you love cats, this is the movie for you. If you hate cats, this is the movie for you. I really think that they really did outdo themselves in just wackiness in this. And I think out of all the other movies that have come out around, around the, phase 3 and 4, this one's probably closest to a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Not just because they're in space, but because of a lot of the things that we get to see, the jump gates, the spaceships, the Kree factoring in pretty heavily here. But also Flurkins. Lots and lots of Flurkins.
Really well used Flurkins.
Very well used Flurkins. Yeah. And we'll talk about what I think when we start talking about spoilers, I think one of the most James Gunnish scenes in the entire movie involves the Flurkins.
Yep. So what did you think of the film there, Steve?
Oh, well, if you're going to go right into that,
do you have more plot you want to provide?
No. I think that's fine as a good, without getting into spoilers, because there's a lot of spoil that could happen there. I loved it. I thought it was one of the most joyful and heartfelt of the Marvel movies that we've seen in a while, where the humor and kind of the lightheartedness was the overriding factor in this, as opposed to sort of these dark elements, which there was some dark elements, but they weren't overshadowing, I think, the light feeling of this film. There's a lot of, I would say, deserved humor. It wasn't forced. And I think that's a credit to the writers for this. But also, Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel, she was wonderful in the TV series, and she's absolutely stealing the show in this film. I think, she represents the fangirl that we all kind of are when it comes to our favorite superhero or favorite character. And here she gets to fight alongside her. She gets to know her. She gets to be in her mind, literally and figuratively. And I think getting to see her growth, but also not losing just her absolute joy at being a superhero and getting to fight with her own hero, just brought me all the happiness. There's just some cute moments with the Flurkins that make me very, very happy as well. But also Sam Jackson here, especially after Secret Invasion, just made him really a depressing character, and just that was not a fun show to sit through for me. Here he is, I think, being Nick Fury, but also not being horrible, and actually participating in the fun and participating in the humor. He works very well with the family. It's all the same actors from the TV series, so they get to reprise their roles, and also work with Sam Jackson, who is actually works very well with them. I think he has a really good rapport with the rest of the cast, and this is just a fun movie. There's a song and dance sequence. Like I mean, you're not going to find that in most of the other shows, except for Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think is probably the closest. Yeah. I'd say that the closest related film in terms of feel, in terms of color, in terms of just music playing a pretty solid front-facing role in this. Yeah, if you like the cosmic Marvel movies, this is right up your alley.
Okay, Caleb, how about you? What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo a lot of those sentiments. I thought it was absolutely delightful. It was lighthearted when it needed to be, but they did a really good job sharing the more suspenseful moments. It kind of carried this. It carried this theme through that. The thing that sets us apart is, yes, this is a cosmic level event, right? We are seeing, again, without spoiling, we're seeing something akin to incursions here, but it can be handled in a different kind of way, right? Like there are other ways than solving problems in what we would see from maybe Tony Stark, right? Or other ways of solving problems in what we would see from even the Guardians, right? There's some of that aspect that they bring in there that there's another concept, right? Another conceit to being a hero, that all three of these characters have to learn. And right, they bring in these figures that have different but connected power sets, right? And they are, different levels of. I don't really know how to put it, right? There are different levels of not only just power but skill. There are different acumen. I mean, you have Captain Marvel, who is a soldier, right? Who has been out there and is just basically a space god in her own right, but is kind of looking for some sense of almost redemption and finding herself. And then you've got Monica, who doesn't need to find herself. She's looking for, almost an apology for some part of the movie for having everything that she's lost, but she's had to scrap her way to maintain herself. But she's nonetheless a soldier, right? And she's just got to figure out how to do these heroics that she's not accustomed to. And then you've got Kamala, who is a kid. She is a bright-eyed. She's not a soldier, right? And I think that's important. And that juxtaposition with the rest of these folks is really fantastic. She's a fan, and I think you said it right. She's a fangirl, but she's also capable, right? She sees the world through a young lens, right? And so she's able to kind of take this idealistic nature and say, hey, like I am not so cynical that I don't believe that there's a tomorrow. And I think it's awesome that I get to see you guys. And oh, cool, you can do that thing. Well, I can do this thing. And hey, I'm a part of this team too. I'm not just on the outside looking in. And most of her journey, I think, is kind of that. She's finding her own space and accepting that she deserves to be a part of it. If you've seen, the TV show that she was front and center in, her family and that family dynamic plays in so well to this movie, because especially when you see what she has versus what Carol does not have, Monica thought she could have but didn't, and that, even though they're a triad of folks, actually I'd say there's a quartet of folks, right? If you consider the quote unquote big bad, who is, not doing great things, but maybe is doing things for this kind of human reason that we see. Mm-hmm. All of it revolves around what would you do for the people that you love? What would you do to avenge them? What would you do to prevent bad things from happening to them? So I think the message was really, really, really well conceived, and ultimately I think it was well executed. Like Steve said, I thought the brightness of the film shone through. I thought the ridiculousness of the film showed through at times, because it should be. It's based off of comic books. It's got cat with face tentacles. Why should it not be ridiculous? So, why shouldn't there be a song and dance sequence? I thought that was excellent. Really had a great time. And, I know I say this a lot, but when I go see Marvel movies, I'm not looking for the next cinematic masterpiece. I'm looking for entertainment. I'm looking for popcorn. I'm looking to have a good night out with my husband. I'm looking to eat a hot dog and enjoy myself and laugh and maybe cry and feel something and be moved and be entertained. And I was all of that, right? I didn't cry in the film, but that's what I wanted. So I there's no way I didn't have fun with this film. CGI was great. I think I've heard some people say that they noticed some spots, but I mean, you can pick at nits all day long. I saw Ant-Man. I'm not going to complain about the CGI in the Marvels. So, I don't know what your issue is. So, go see the film. I mean, ultimately it's super cool, and it's setting up really, really, really happy making things for me. So I'm excited to see where they go with this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up.
He's gonna sneeze. He's gonna sneeze.
If a bear sneezes
There we
on
go.
you and the audience can't hear it, does the bear really sneeze?
For anyone listening, you missed Bill sneezing. Bill has been fighting a cold for 6 days. So,
Oh, there he goes again. Oh, false alarm. False alarm.
yeah, I'm very sorry about this, but I was determined to get on air tonight. So, I'm going to echo what a lot of what the two of you have said. Caleb, I'm with you. I'm not looking for a transformative cinematic experience when I see an MCU film. I do think there are films that elevate into something higher. I would say Black Panther and Captain America, the first, and
Winter
Soldier kind of go into a different stratosphere than the other films. But I'm looking to be entertained, and I definitely was entertained. I have to say one thing that I thought the film juggled so well is when you step back from it. This is a sequel to Captain Marvel, to WandaVision, to Secret Invasion, and to Miss Marvel, with some threads from other films in there too. And that didn't matter at all because it was its own dynamic and its own entity. Sure, it helped if you knew the backstories, but I did think that the way the film was structured and presented, that you could go in cold and have just as an enjoyable experience. It amazes me. This is Iman Vellani's film debut, and she's a natural. She just shines in this movie. I think even more than the TV series, because I think she had a bigger job to do in the TV series since it's hers. But in this one that is so based at its core on her interaction with the other characters, I just think she did wonderfully. I thought the cast, with one exception, I thought were all excellent. And I'll tell you who I didn't really appreciate too much, and that's Zawe Ashton as Darben. What's Darben?
Darben,
yeah, because that could have been any actress in their 30s. I didn't think she brought anything especially prominent to the role, but I will say something, Caleb, you touched on. That's a very interesting character.
It is,
because if you had gone what that character had gone through, where would you be? I probably would have maybe not taken the steps that character took, but ideologically would definitely be aligned with her. And I think that's one of the things about the MCU and to better Marvel comics in general, that the villains aren't just villains. They're not blah ha ha. I'm so evil villains. That they have stories, and sometimes you come across a character like Darben where their standpoint and their argument has a lot of validity and a lot of considerations that anybody examining the situation should put into the mix when they are making their own decision about where they come down on this. I really appreciated the family dynamic. I love that the family sort of expands at the end from what we see. I thought that was a wonderful touch. The humor in the film is, just so spot on. One thing I don't want to spoil, but you may as well just know about this. The way that they sneak people off the space station is genius and hysterical. And if you, like you said, if you can't enjoy that, you can't enjoy life. Because where they came up with that, I don't know, but it's a funny person who did wherever that germ was. But at the same token, through the film, these are literally earth-shattering consequences. And you never had a feeling through the film that was minimized. I love the scene where they're on. I have my notes here. I just want to make sure I get the names because there's a lot of names in this movie. Tarnax, which is the Skrull colony. And like you said, Caleb, it's a very fairly short scene when things come down to it, but the consequences of misunderstanding, and then on top of that, you see Carol and you see Monica, who effectively are soldiers, really breaking Kamala's heart with what she wanted to do, but understanding that there's a way to accomplish a mission. As hard as it is to make those decisions, that you have to acknowledge is the way to go if anything is going to succeed. It's a short scene, but I thought it was so well played. And, going again, a big criticism of the MCU films has been, some of the missteps in terms of the CGI and the visual effects. I know there were 17 houses that worked on this, but it felt like one. It was a very unified visual context that was adhered to throughout the film. We're going to talk more about the business end of this and some of the consequences. And I think, with a franchise that has so many entries in it, a box office disappointment was inevitable, but why'd it have to be this one? Because I just thought, that all the cylinders that should have been firing for a film like this were firing. And I hope that the word of mouth, which as far as I see is, almost all positive. I'm really not seeing too many distractors after people have seen this film. I hope it has that afterlife after, a film's fate it's a shame that it's decided after 2.5 days. In a lot of context sometimes. And I hope this is one of those situations like, what was the last film? What's the Pixar film with the emotions?
Elemental. Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't with the emotions; it was with the elements.
Yeah.
But that was one too that everyone thought was going to be a massive bomb and disappointment within the first week, and then it had staying power, and it kept growing, and it kept maintaining.
So let's.
I actually think that there is a pathway for that to happen here. Again, and look, there are lots of reasons that go to Bill's point why there was not this great box office boom in the first couple of days. Depending on what mindset you subscribe to, right? But I think that there is a legitimacy to the notion that, hey, this happened just after a strike. There was not a ton of advertising done for this, everything. So I do think that there's a pathway where the more people, and I agree with you, right? I also say that, like, with the full acknowledgement that, like, as far as social media goes, I am in a little bit of an echo chamber, right? Like, I don't have a bunch of shitheads in my circle of humans. And so the people that I've seen say, I went out and watched this. I quite enjoyed it. Other folks, I did see one friend that said, hey, yeah, we went and watched it. I was highly entertained. My wife didn't care for it. Right. So I have seen some people that did not like it. On the other hand, there are, of course, the usual suspects who are going, it's pushing an agenda, right? And what's the agenda other than the fact that women can do things? Actually, you know what? Let me take that back. There is an agenda in this movie. I think it's a very well crafted, clever agenda. These fuckers aren't smart enough to realize what the agenda is, right? So that, like, there is an agenda. They're kind of like a broken clock in that sense, but they're not hitting on it. They're not talking about what the actual agenda is, and that is certainly not the reason that this movie is struggling, right? So I mean, there are a number of things into that. But I do agree with you, Bill. I think that there's a very good opportunity that this next weekend people are going to go see this movie because now that they have heard about it and there's been overwhelming, critical acclaim for it, right? Not just fanboys on the internet saying, "Hey, I saw it; it was cool." Variety wrote a good thing about it, right? Entertainment Weekly had nice things to say about it. Now that it's getting out there, and I hope that the average person who is wanting to go out to the movies and stuff, they could see if they happen to have the connected threads to those quote unquote people, that the things that they're saying about it there's not any really legitimate. Like, it's obvious that the agenda is to not like it before they see it, and it's not anything about the merits. It's a bad faith argument. which I did us all a favor. I scrolled through some of those comments and looked at them because I was curious. I wanted to know what was being said. It is the same parroted talking points with zero substance, and I'll take substance, right? If you didn't like this movie and you want to come at me and tell me exactly why, and you can explain why, I will gladly take your substance, right? But that's not what's getting dropped in those. It is just really, it's an agenda. Cool. What's the agenda? It's a bad movie. Well, that's not an agenda.
Yeah.
Well, but women exist. Like 51% of us are those people.
Yeah.
None of them can fly in this that I'm aware of, but
I'm also curious to see of all the basement living man babies, how many of them probably end up seeing the film the first weekend anyway?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot.
Talking about sort of the negative pre-reactions to this movie existing. I can understand, because I didn't think this was a perfect movie myself. I mean, there are some things that if I had my way, I would change a little bit, but again, the feeling that I walked out of that movie theater last night was just elation. I was bubbly, I was happy, I was buzzing. I was just very excited to have seen a movie. Like, I'm excited. I get excited to go see movies. I'm excited to have seen this one. Like, I walked out of there, I'm like, I'm happy I saw that. I feel really good about seeing that. I had a smile throughout the entire movie. And this is really interesting. And Caleb, I'm glad you mentioned it too. I did not cry in this one. I cried like my face off in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I mean, just everything with the animals and the evolutionaries, experiments and everything. And of course, Rocket. I just tears.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Black Panther
chunks.
2, same.
Oh yeah,
right.
Black Panther 2.
First
like, I mean,
2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those like emotional beats where it's cathartic and you're crying and I feel so good after having that big emotionally manipulated scene. This one kind of was the reverse for me. I mean, there was some depressing and some sad stuff that was discussed and shown and everything. And I'm wondering, because this is one of the shortest of the MCU movies, I'm wondering if there was a lot that was taken out that could have led to a little bit more of like a tugging at the heartstrings kind of scene. Or something that would have.
I tend to not think that, and I think sometimes you can see a film and know that there were chunks taken out. That there's a different speed to it, that there's a closeness to characters that doesn't really make sense with the way that the film has transpired so far. I didn't get that feel from this, and I think this is also very important to show that an MCU film can exist that isn't 2 hours and 37 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's an important move. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
I think some of the thing with what Steve said about this wasn't a film I cried either at. But I do think it was, in some ways, one of the more relatable films because I think everybody has had disagreements with their family, disagreements with their extended family, have been let down by people, have met people they've idolized and have, or put on some degree of a pedestal or heighten them in some capacity. And there's disappointment in that. Everybody's had, their days where everything went to shit. And the more that you try to fix it, the more it gets fucked up. Everybody's been there. And I think that's why this is one of the more relatable films in a sense. Because, I don't know what it's like to die in a medical experiment holding cell. I don't know how I don't know what that is.
I've never been a bunny rabbit with metal spider legs. It's true.
I'll cry my eyes out at the thought of it, but I don't know what that's like. But here I had sympathies and empathies for almost all the characters, including, as I said, including the characters that you're not rooting for.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I have a theory on why that is? And again, just a theory, right? This is not a cynical movie. And a lot of those movies that we're talking about, even the ones that I genuinely like, if we're talking about, there are moments of Guardians 3 that are incredibly cynical. There are moments of Wakanda or Black Panther 2, of all of these films, right, that are incredibly cynical. This is not a cynical movie, and perhaps, and I could be wrong about this, but perhaps that is because it is a movie told through a feminist lens, right? Life does not have to be cynical in that sense. There are, to me, that was why I really like they addressed every issue that came up, all of these incredibly heartbreaking things, these troublesome things, these reflections of things that are actually happening in our real world, but they view them as a solvable problem almost at every jump. And maybe that is because you have a very wide-eyed young person who is a core member of this group, right? It could have been cynical if it had have just been Carol. It could have been cynical if it had just been Monica, right? But you take both of them and then you add in you add in Miss Marvel, who has this, again, this hope, this youthfulness about her. To me, that's a very like the entire movie. It reflects cynicism. It does not let that cynicism take root. And I thought that was a really good notion to the film. And I enjoy, look, cynicism is my base, right? I drink cynicism and coffee for breakfast every morning. That's just how I exist in the world. I'm fueled by cynicism, body dysmorphia, and metal. That's about it. But like, this movie didn't have that. And I still found a way to gravitate towards it in the way that I haven't gravitated towards other films.
Yeah. And I think that also kind of goes towards, and I don't know how much this is a spoiler. So those of you who are listening or watching, like, you might want to plug your ears. Spoiler is happening. But throughout the movie, and again, Bill, I absolutely agree with Zoe Ashton. I love Zoe Ashton and other things that she's done. This did not give her really a chance to.
Yeah. It's
really
one of the situations
show her
with
chops.
a very good actor or actress, like
Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston is another example that the
Yeah.
film did not serve them well.
I think
even
part
though
of
the
that
character is a good character. Yeah.
I wish they had not used like this character profile of the accuser, and I think that's part of it, right? Like there's so much of her character that was just modeled after Ronan the Accuser, that we've already seen, right? And I mean, complete with Hammer, right?
Yeah.
So, and I get that that's part of the makeup. That's what her job is, right? And that's a tool that position uses, right? It's like a Jedi with a lightsaber, but I think they took that character makeup and they tried to create a different version of it, and they did not separate it enough. And that's to Bill's point. I think that they could have basically grabbed a number of people off the street, anybody who has a basic level of experience acting, and stuck them in that role. And I think they could have done the same thing. There was no shining moment.
Yeah. Which is too bad, because that character throughout the movie, our three heroes are not trying to kill her, not trying to destroy her. They're certainly trying to stop her, but in a way that doesn't also doom everybody on Hala, the billions of people that live on that planet, because that's what Captain Marvel is spending so much of the movie just feeling terrible about. But learns, like, there is another way. Like, there is another way to do this. Optimistically, there are solutions to these problems where everybody kind of gets what they need, gets what they want, without, killing everything.
Almost like a two-state solution.
Oh, no. This I think with her especially being sort of like this character that doesn't get a chance to really explain a lot. Her motivation is clear, and I think that is something where it's like the motivation is clear. I need to protect my people. I need to save my planet. Help who I can, and I know how. And now I have the power, and I don't really care who stops me. But this is my goal. I need to save my people. I am the leader of my people that need me. And Carol, for her part of this, is essentially the same. And all of these characters, like everybody, kind of has that same motivation. I need to protect the ones I love. I'm responsible for this. And when they realize that, and when they realize a shared goal, they can find these solutions. And so, it really is kind of, again, a tragic misuse of an actor that I really enjoy. But, I think there could have been some changes to how that character is presented that kind of would give you that hope or that optimism that there would be redemption. Which, again, in most Marvel movies with these villains, that's doesn't happen. There is no potential redemption for most of them. Not since back to Black Panther, really. Where there is that hope that Killmonger, can realize what he's doing, and that's what T'Challa is trying to to meet him on his level, but Killmonger just can't. He's lost. But you see that struggle, and you see that optimism, you see that, and that's something that I did appreciate about this movie, is that there was that feeling that hey, this person can be saved, and we can save everybody too. There is a solution. There is some way to solve this.
Caleb, I'm going to have a soft disagreement with you on one point that you made, where you said that the film was through a feminist lens, and I think that's accurate to some degree, but I don't want to get into semantics and labeling here, but one of the more appealing things about the film, and let me just try to put this in this context, the heroes in this film are all women, but the heroes in this film just happen to be women. That's what I came away from with this, that this wasn't, like the equivalent of the Spice Girls. There wasn't, like you said, and that comes to cynicism. That their formation was organic, and they're even scoffing at the idea that they're a team, yet they know they have to find some degree of coordination to reach the goals that they need to reach. So I'm trying to find the right way to express this, but maybe post-feminism, I don't know. But it didn't have that, certain bells and whistles weren't present.
Well, it certainly wasn't Barbie,
and I don't want to say that, but even saying that makes it sound like those bells and whistles, that their presence would be unwelcome. You know what I mean? I'm having a hard time with properly expressing this, but I do think that the gender of the characters was of almost no importance for a lot of the film.
I mean, I can
beyond the example of having a team of females.
Yeah. I can kind of disagree with that too. That I think in this, it was important that that we had a team of 3 women here. Who were the ones that stood up and were able to, focus and save the day. Just because of who these characters are, I don't think that they would have been the same if they were any other character. Like if there was anybody else in the MCU who was, a man or male presenting. But I think that there is something to say. The director, Nia DaCosta, her first big film was, I guess it was Little Woods, which I did not see, but Candyman, the remake of Candyman, which had a lot of criticism there, but was also kind of a very interesting take on the original Candyman idea, the original Clive Barker Candyman from, the 96 movie, which even in itself was an interpretation of the Clive Barker Candyman. But, there was something to be said there for, minority women, for women being, front and center in this film. But, I kind of agree. Like if it's not that the defining feature of these characters is
that's a good way of putting it. It's not the defining
is that they are women.
Very good way of putting that. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I
was
was
important. It is important that they're women in that.
Yeah, and so I said this just a second ago, and I this movie's not Barbie, right? Like this movie is not Barbie. It is not that overt, but I do think that it is part and parcel of this movie that all of the main characters to some degree are women. And I think it's also important that they, that the white women are women and that the women of color are women and the placement of it. And that the villain, the villain is a woman, right? So it does not take this. And so, and knowing what I know about about the director and the people who wrote this movie, right? I think you have to contend with the fact that it was written and these characters were picked for this, right? These characters were put in this place. The plot was written the way it was. And it does not, like a feminist movie does not have to be as overt as Barbie, right? It can be toned down a little bit and still have still be written and it can be written with a feminist viewpoint, right? Like, and again, that goes to what your definition of feminism is. I tend to watch things through because, again, I'm a weird art nerd that went to school and got a degree in like creative writing and all that nonsense. So like, I view things through things like feminist lenses. I critique things through this idea of a Marxist lens. I see class and race and gender and stuff in things that, like, my husband looks at me and he's like, how the fuck did you get that idea from what we just watched, right? But like, I can break down SpongeBob into all of this stuff and tell you about how this has a message and what it's trying to do, right? And that's part of who I am.
I don't think I want to see movies with you.
No, it's terrible. You should not. Like flat out, I drive. Like, bless my husband for putting up with me. It drives him crazy, right? But I also think that the movie, and if you listen to the directors, if you listen to the people who were integral to the making of this film, of any film really, nothing is done by accident. I genuinely think that even in this, which is a popcorn film, right? I think it's the gender is necessary, and it may not be overt, right? It may not be like I am woman, hear me roar, even though there's a lot of I am woman, hear me roar in this film. But it's finding a different way to do a different type of messaging, right? Because we have Barbie now. We have these other movies that are doing different things. This can be a traditional style action film and still have those same messages and still shoot that message that, hey, women in these high ranking roles and women of power, they have to contend and think about other things rather than gender. They have to balance it, though, because they also have to contend with all of these.
At the same token, if that's your approach, then wouldn't you say films like Birds of Prey or Black Widow that operate in the same area address that more overtly?
More overtly, yeah.
Well,
yeah. Overtly.
This one was very, and I actually, when looking at it in terms of subtle, like going back to Bill saying post-feminism, in this, there is. The dynamic there is not a patriarchal dynamic. Like, we're not talking about these women are fighting against, a structure that is, anti-woman or misogynist or anything. This is
no. In this case, I think that's a very good point. They're not fighting patriarchy. They're fighting empiricism in this film.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're fighting. They're fighting empiricism and the echoes of empiricism. That, I know we don't want to go.
And that goes beyond gender as far as
I know we don't want to go to and we've talked about this. Like,
I'm also really uncomfortable with old being guys and commenting on
right?
feminist traits.
I, of course, know more than anybody else.
And I'm certainly not making that point, and I have no idea what it's like to be a woman. I do know what it's like to be a gay man, and there's not an equivalency there, and I'm not making an equivalency, but like I think misogyny and homophobia are incredibly directly related, right? And transphobia and everything else, right? There's a root there that all stems from the same place. So I think we may not be the best ones to talk about like what it's like to be a woman or fourth wave feminism or post feminism, right? But feminism does help us as gay men. Point blank.
Yeah.
So, and there is something to that, right? Misogyny is built into homophobia, is built into transphobia, so it's built into queer violence.
Do you want to talk about the really spoilery stuff, or just let people discover the mid-credit scene on their own?
Well, okay. So
I'm of two minds on that.
I am definitely of two minds on this one because I think that it is a super fun thing. However, we did kind of get a taste of it already in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And-
I don't
and
know.
Also, what's the next MCU film?
What is the next MCU film?
Deadpool 3.
Oh, is that what's coming out next? Yeah. Okay.
So
Because
the
they've moved around all the
here,
movies
I think,
so much.
has a
I
bit
have no
more
idea
a bit more potential resonance. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think that yeah. If
Well,
that is
we
the
all-
next movie to come out,
We saw some seeds in Miss Marvel too. So
Mhm.
we did.
Yep.
Mhm.
We did. This one again, the whole multiverse. The way that Marvel's been using the multiverse here is that it's kind of cheating a little bit. But
at the
I
same
think
token,
that-
it's like we need a break.
yeah,
We need a break from the multiverse.
yeah.
yeah.
But I was excited. Let's just say I was
Yeah,
excited at
Of course you're
a
excited.
couple things.
Of course, yeah.
I was excited about a couple things, but one of them was the costume
Yep.
Yes.
that was shown
Yeah,
at the end.
very well
That
done.
was exciting.
Yeah.
I was like,
I gay gasped. I did
Yes.
that. I gay gasped.
But I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of it. The more people see this, I think the more people are going to encourage other people to see it.
Yeah.
If not for the absolute joy that is the rest of this movie, just that post-credit scene. And no, the mid-credit scene. I'm not even going to talk about that one. I'm gonna sort of like point us towards the pre-credit scene, which to me, I've been teased by it so many times in so many other shows, but this is just kind of an exact, direct, response to everybody saying, when are we going to be seeing this particular team come up? And this is directly, it's directly addressed by Miss Marvel, meeting another particular young superhero, and saying, "Hey, we got a team. we got to team up. It's just the two of us right now, but I know that there are more. I've got other names. I know who's coming next." And that, to me, I was super excited about that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, we are having this. We've been teasing it for such a long time. We've been setting it up with all these movies and shows. Guess what? Yeah. It is coming. We don't know when at this point, because we're probably going to be retooling our entire phase map over the next year or so. But it better come soon, because I'm very happy and excited that they.
I'm not excited at all.
Not at all.
No,
I
not
can
at all.
never tell. I don't know why
Mhm.
you're holding that, and I don't know why you're stroking it like Blofeld's cat in a Bond film. But
So for the folks who aren't watching this, I'm holding up a piece of art.
I gotta say, we have been much better with that, of describing some of the visuals that may not be caught in the audio version. Somebody commented that on that for me.
So
Yes.
we've been better.
So
at that.
without spoiling, again, without spoiling a bit of spoilage, right? But without spoiling major things, right? You get a pre-credit scene where they certainly suggest at things that have we know is coming, right? But they have suggested that we are either getting a Young Avengers or a Champions type of thing, right? And we know this, right? We've seen that. So for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast, number one, thank you. That's awesome. I was holding up and stroking a piece of original art, and it's Wiccan and a Hulkling drawn by Dan Parent of Archie fame. So that hangs on my wall next to my desk while I work. So I am very excited about this, because I want to see that. Like, that's one of my favorite groups. I love this duo, but I love them all. And I love all the versions of it, whether we're going back to the OG version or whether we've got the Gillen stuff, and it's incredibly good, right? So I'm happy either way. I cannot wait to see Wiccan and Hulkling, and we know through I say no loosely. I'm not the popcorn whisperer by any means, but we know that we assume, or we have heard rumors that the one of the actors from Heartstoppers is definitely cast as Wiccan. And then the rumor mill has it that Kit Connor, who also plays in Heartstopper, maybe he cast as Hulkling. That would be incredibly cool to see those characters go from Heartstoppers to the Marvelverse, still remain a couple. My little YA loving heart would explode So
I think
want
that would
badly.
be kind of like weird, like sideways typecasting, I guess. But at the same time, I can totally dig that.
Yep, I'm here for it in a big
fan
way.
casting. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that very much so. And this movie gave me that, which made me very happy. Like it wasn't just a hey, look who we're showing. It was a look what we're actually showing and telling you that we will be doing.
Yep.
You know. So I was like, okay, good. Yeah, and the Flurkins.
Can we-
So are they Flurkinettes?
They're Flurkittens.
Flurkittens. Okay.
I mean, little thing. They're Flurkittens.
Flurkinettes.
Would they be would like a well, I don't know what a group of them are called. Are they Flurkai? Flurky?
Flurkins. They're Flurkins for multiple like adult Flurkins.
Are they a gaggle? Are they a herd? Are they a kit? What is what?
They're a hentai.
They would have to be a herd as far as we're concerned, right?
They're a hentai of Flurkins.
Or we could make one up, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, some, you know.
A jerk and a flurkin.
A jerk and a flurkins.
Different
hey,
kind of thing, I guess.
But before we go over to the next kind of thing, though, one thing I want to talk about, we did talk a lot about Kamala. We talked a lot about Miss Marvel, and we talked a lot about Captain Marvel. Can we just talk like I'm an OG Avengers fan, right? Like I love the Avengers. I love Monica Rambeau in all of her iterations, right? Like big hair, and they actually made an allusion to the wing things that she has.
Oh yeah.
How amazing is it that we live in a world where we get to see Monica Rambeau, the Photon, on the big screen, being amazing, using those actual powers that we all get like that I love. I never thought like 33rd movie, right? Like this it goes back to Iron Man. When they did Iron Man and they did Cap, like they did that core group, I never thought that we would be seeing some of these tangential characters that we've seen on the big screen. Never imagined that could happen, right?
Well, there's been a history. I mean, I think that's been the history of the MCU. You know, these, and even think of here, you know, there are very interesting supporting characters that we only see glimpses of.
Yeah.
That, you know, with the way that the MCU operates, you know, the Kree scientist who's kind of like an advisor, you know, he was really interesting. Tyron or whatever his name was. Talia and Dag, who were the two saber workers. You know, so but I'm just thinking of things like that. I mean, like, you know, going back to when Iron Man started, would you ever think that Groot would be in the public? In the
no one knew who Guardians was.
Yeah.
No one knew who Guardians was before that movie.
So, like, I agree and I disagree with you on the same time because of that particular track record.
Yeah. And I actually,
I'm, you know, especially with the way that, you know, whatever the frigging complaints about CGI, basically anything that's in a comic book can happen now.
It can, right?
So I'm there for all of it, and none of it would really shock me.
If we get to see D-Man in a Marvel film, I will shit myself. Like
you would show up in a Deadpool movie,
like just because they take these C and D list like and Photon's a B character at worst or best, but like getting to see all of these little side characters that we get to see, that is so cool to me, and the fact that they bring them to life in very comic book accurate ways. It is a fantastic time to be a comic book fan, and if you can't find joy in that, I don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Like, so in terms of MCU, who you haven't seen yet, whether it's a team or a character, who would you most want to see? I do have an answer. I have two answers.
MCU.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. Go ahead with yours. Let me think. Let me ponder upon this.
This would be on my end. It would have to be an untold tale, but the Invaders.
Yeah,
I would love to see. You know, like Namor was there and just doesn't remember it. No one else remembers it. But just the concept of, you know, at least the three core invaders of Cap, Namor and Human Torch on screen in a dogfight with Nazi planes. Oh, Jesus. I would die happy if I got that. Yeah. That would be mine.
I mean, mine's a problem because they haven't been shown in the MCU, but we've seen them before in films. You know, I guess everything's technically canon now, I guess. But if you gave me a good Silver Surfer,
yeah,
that's not as restricted as, you know, the last time we saw Silver Surfer on screen by the technology and the CGI at the time. You know, full powered, full cosmic abilities, I think would be. I would very much appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So
no one said Alpha Flight. I really thought somebody would say Alpha.
I mean, I'd love to see Alpha Flight and the X-Men and New Mutants and like again.
Yeah, well, to Steve's point, like one of my favorite characters is Jamie Madrox, right? I would love to see a good version of Jamie Madrox. We got a version of Multiple Man in one of the X-Men movies, but it's not great, and it's very much they use him the wrong way. I love Multiple Man. I think Multiple Man is fantastic, right? So he would be an answer. I already mentioned Wiccan and Hulkling. I think we're going to see that. So that's kind of, you know, that's one of my answers. D-Man, again, I know it's a weird thing, but I'm like the one person that like stands for D-Man.
I mean, his biggest superpower is that he smells bad.
Look, make it work for you. You know, he smells like
I
a
think
man.
Deadpool, he would show up. I think he's going to show up in Deadpool if there is
that would work incredibly well. But one of the villains that I'd love to see and done well is the leader. You know, I'm a huge Hulk fan. I would love to see the leader done right. Because the leader's freaking terrifying, right? What I'm going to pitch that one back to you. What villains that you have not seen would you like to see done well?
Well, mine is revision. Is I want to see like the Soulless Ginger, daddy version of Dr. Faustus.
Okay,
and not necessarily what we got in Agent Carter. I would like to see that.
Give me Arcade,
a prurient thing, you know. But in terms of villains that we just haven't seen, I think not a huge villain, but I always thought Black Tom Cassidy would make a really good cinematic villain.
Yeah.
I just think the elements are there. There are others. I'd have to think about it, but that's
the thing is when we think about the MCU, we think like Avengers centric, and that like there's fantastic Mole Man. I still think, and I stand by this, and I've said this for years, even back when I was doing Southern Fried Geekery, right? Like the best way to do if you want to do a Fantastic Four film, you want to make it work, you do it as a horror movie, you do it like The Descent, and you make Mole Man the villain. Print that fucking money, right? Like,
and Nihilus would be a great cinematic villain.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Do you think with CGI, do you guys think that they could ever do justice to the Molecule Man?
Would they want to?
Well, I would have always said no, but look at the way Jonathan Hickman used him.
Yeah.
Look at the way Jonathan Hickman used him, though. I think that worked really well with that.
Still, I think the weakest part of that.
See, I thought it was I thought it was really clever. I thought it was a really well, really cool way to use that character.
Yeah.
I also still want a Banshee and Nick Fury team up called The Sound and the Fury.
But I want them played by the actors from the 90s movies. I want David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury, and I want what's his face?
Oh God, what's his name? Oh, we just talked about him a few weeks ago.
Michael, is it Michael something?
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
He looked really good in the 90s.
But
with that horrible accent. But anyway,
I gotta look it up.
We can talk about this for a while.
Steve, I'll look him up.
But yeah, like I said, arcade, all day arcade.
Arcade would be very cool.
An arcade that
a modern version. What?
Well, a
a
modern version of
Jeremy
arcade was
Ratsford.
basically
Jeremy Ratchford.
Jeremy Ratsford. Yep.
Who's
A
like
modern
all,
version
like,
of,
who's all like chunky now.
which is great.
He was on
And
Cold
we know he's
Case for
furry.
years, but he was
Yeah.
Banshee in the Generation X TV movie.
Yeah. So
Have they,
so
Steve?
David Hasselhoff.
Have they dealt with arcade in the sense of bringing arcade up to the modern age to consider, like, what would arcade do with
Like
video
arcade
games?
too.
Right? Like,
Arcade. Well, he's done video
All the
games.
villains I
He's-
hate.
He's done video games. He's done all of that. But for him, it's real. It's, if the danger room was actually trying to kill you, and all the people that you know are trying to kill you, and everything that you are experiencing is an absolute lie because it was manufactured by some complete psycho who just wants to see you suffer. That
Right.
to me is like the essence of arcade. You could make them fancy. You could have them do like, it's all holograms and stuff.
I guess what I'm saying is, what would you do with a scenario where arcade has access to an open world concept on the internet, AI technology, and a 3D printer, right? They have never brought arcade fully into the modern era. All of this stuff is still kind of circled around this like idea of a weird circus and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that's like, what would you do if you really made arcade a contender with modern technology? I don't think they've done that yet, which is,
I know what I do. I wouldn't see the
terrifying.
movie.
I know you wouldn't, but I think it would be a really cool film. But in any case, before we move on to the final segment, I just wanted to say we've gotten some people who have joined us tonight.
Oh, cool.
Been really bad at doing this, but we had Old Man Jeepstar joining us from Twitch earlier. We've got Tony Gilkinson joining us from Facebook. Hey guys, long time. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the Marvels. Yes,
and,
well,
and
hopefully
Tony
you heard
even
them.
heard the reference to the popcorn machine Oracle.
Exactly. John Westhoff, of course, throwing the horns around the bear, which is great. And then we've also got Virgil Kane coming to us from Manchester. And Virgil also, I want to show this because this is what had us giggling. Virgil Kane says, I had a nightmare where I was a football player and sneaked into the cheerleaders' showers and they made themselves invisible. It is sad.
Also, mix that with the arcade scenario.
Mix that with arcade. Right? That is how arcade gets you.
That is actually like, Virgil, thank you. I'm writing that, and I will be a billionaire, and it's your fault. So I appreciate you.
And Tony actually says Mojo and arcade together, which I'm sure would make Bill extremely happy because they're both great characters that Bill loves so very much.
I don't mind Mojoverse stuff. I just think there's like one or two stories that come out of it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Mojo has been kind of.
I think it's a great concept. I just don't. But it really hasn't been bettered since the first Long Shot series.
Yeah,
So
although I do love the Mojo from several years back, and I forget who was writing X-Men at the time. But Mojo, who kind of like came to Earth and got himself a human girlfriend, who thought that he was actually kind of cute and just tried being a good guy for a little while, which was really fun.
Now, with the update, Mojo is streaming. I think there's a story there.
I still want to see a Mojo story, but where Rachel Maddow is actually fighting him. Like, I want that. Like,
that would be
24-hour news cycle battles. Where we get to see Rachel Maddow, who has done several cameos in superhero stuff. Like, I want to see her deal with
Batwoman. Yeah, she did Batwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
Do we want to get into our geek gets?
Yeah, our geek woof
or woofs.
So we'll just provide this caveat here. When we have a regular show, which you can tune into tomorrow, we have segments called Geek Gets, where we show off something that we got that is under the geek genre culture umbrella. And we also have something we call the Woof of the Week, where we spotlight something which might be a film or a TV program, might even be a comic book or a charitable initiative. Always got to get that in. Just something that we think that viewers or listeners may be interested in sampling. So we're going to do like a hybrid of that. I think these are mostly gets, maybe, or maybe you have woofs. I don't know. But so our woof get for tonight. So Steve, I'll start as I always do with you. what is your Wolf Get?
Well, and I'm wondering here if if Caleb can also has his copies, but this is a Kickstarter Wolf Get of Power Bear. All three of the available issues. The third issue is the latest one that's been released. Wukash Meicher out in Germany has done a great job putting out these three very beautiful and very large, single issue editions. All three of them were available with the last Kickstarter, so I got all three of these wonderful, beautiful issues. I know that he's wanting to continue them, so we might be seeing hopefully a Kickstarter for number 4 at some point in the future.
I really hope so, because this like fell into my like DCBS thought that I swore I contributed to this Kickstarter, and it looks like I didn't.
Well, and it's definitely he's got some other things that he has available as well.
So
Cleaner and Bear Stories. So, yeah, and you can still get previously published issues as well if you go to his website.
Cool.
moomcomics.de. You don't have to speak German to enjoy these. They do have English versions.
Okay, Caleb, how about you? What's your Wolf Get?
My Wolf Get is, which by the way, I love that phrase. It is a new album. It is the album Stone from the band Baroness. For those of you who know me, I'm not Bill. Don't claim to be. Bill is much more musically encyclopedic than I am, but I do love music, and I have recently, in the past couple of years, gotten into vinyl because hipsters will save us all. But I really do enjoy it. Right, it's my favorite thing. Where I kick back and I listen to vinyl and I just enjoy myself. Baroness is a band that kind of falls into the genre of metal, although I don't even know what that means anymore because there's such a spectrum of it. If you enjoyed Mastodon's last album, Hush and Grim, I think you will like Baroness's album Stone. It's a little bit ethereal. It is heavy, but it also is it's not thrash. It kind of draws out. It's very orchestral. Super good music. I highly enjoy it. Very, very cool band from Canada. So we get a little Canadian metal happening. Go check them out. They are streaming everywhere that music streams. And so if you want to check, if you want just a taste, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Spotify, you can go to all the other places, listen to a few songs, but go buy the record and, check and see if they're touring near you and go support them in that way as well. It's fun stuff. So, very good music. If I had to pick a track that I love the most, Choir. It's the 4th song on the record. It's amazing. I highly enjoy it, and I think you will too. So go check out Baroness, their new album, The Stone.
Okay, well, you chose a new album. I chose an old album, but in a format that I've never had before. So my Wolf Get is the debut album by Pearl Jam 10, finally owning this on vinyl. You have to understand, look behind me. Most of this is the 90s. We really did think vinyl was dead. We really did. I still bought singles every once in a while, but albums, they were dead. So, in the past few years, I picked up Nevermind. I've picked up Pretty Hate Machine. I've picked up the first Tool EP. So, as time goes on, I'm picking up some of the classic 90s stuff that I never had on vinyl before. So this is their debut from 1991. Interesting thing that you said, Caleb, about what your favorite track is on this. Oh, I think I'm tied between Black and Jeremy.
Yeah,
I think those would probably be but what is the equivalent of the first side is just, Once Even Flow Alive, Why Go Black, Jeremy. That's side 1. Jesus Christ.
Those. Can I make a CBB confession? And this is going to probably have diminishing returns, and it's going to disappoint you, right? Pearl Jam is one of those bands that I highly, highly, highly respect, and I absolutely appreciate what they did and their stuff. I don't like Eddie Vedder's voice. So like they're a band, they're just a band that I don't. I respect and know how great they are. I just don't care for them personally. So it's really weird. It's really hard for me to get past.
I wonder if you have had the same experience with the Yardle, is what they call it. Because he's like, Yarr.
No, he's singing vowels.
If you had that same experience when it was just Vedder and not 20,000 sound-alikes that came
maybe so.
So I wonder if you would have
right?
had that same experience. Because there's a lot, like even from someone on the outset, I see there's a lot more honesty from him and pretenders to the throne like Scott Stapp and Chad Kroger and what's his face?
Why bring?
Yeah, but seriously, I wonder if you would be feeling the same way, because it's like there was a really interesting article I read one time. It's like Eddie Vedder has the most hated voice in rock, and most of them aren't his singing, or something like that.
No, and that's a valid point, right? And it really is. So that's why I wanted to.
I don't want to say your position is invalid. I just wonder if you would come up for the ranks in terms of time, in the way that I did, if you would have the same perspective. That's all.
Sure, very, very possibly, right? And that's why I wanted to make the caveat of saying, hey, look, I completely respect them. I know how important they are to music history, especially to like the grunge movement. Don't want to diminish that at all. I'm not saying they're not a good band. I'm not saying they're not a great band. They are a legendary band, and they deserve that status. I respect them. I appreciate what they did. I don't personally find enjoyment in most of their songs. Now, look, you throw on half the songs that you just mentioned that are on the first part of that EP, I can probably sing along with them.
Mm-hmm. And from what you're saying, I have a number of acts that fill that for me. Yeah. Rush, Beastie Boys, Grateful Dead. Respect the hell out of them. I would never choose to listen to them. Yeah.
I'm there with you on Rush and on with the third. I like Beastie Boys, but I'm with you on Rush and the one that you mentioned. My brain just shut off. Grateful Dead. Yeah.
Respect the hell out of them. I'm never gonna pick that.
Also, Fish. Fish. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So flat out. Yeah, I 100% appreciate who they are, and that is an amazing album. And music today would not be what it is if it were not for Eddie Vedder and that whole crew. Mm-hmm. So I gotta appreciate them.
Mm-hmm. Someday Steve's gonna add to the musical conversation. Someday he will.
I don't want to get in on that. Nobody wants to look at what I was listening to in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. Now you get some of the taste of what I listen to now, and that's I can hear your eyes rolling from 600 miles away.
Yeah.
So
I also saw an interesting article saying that rock music is cult now, in the way that jazz has been for the last 30 years. And I don't think that's an invalid argument given what's popular in the mainstream. It's an interesting article. Yeah.
I was telling you, I was just watching just one of those wonderful little YouTube, I don't know much about music, but I know something about this. The history of Atari Teenage Riot, done by someone who was 13 in 2006, talking about how important it was for them when they found Atari Teenage Riot. And it took me 5 minutes to realize that their first album came out, or first EP basically, came out almost 30 years ago, which puts it 10 years beyond what almost constitutes classic rock. And I'm just sort of like,
And that's interesting because I always see them as contemporaries of Biss, but Biss totally predate them. That's weird.
And Lords of Acid too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lords of Acid are way. Yeah, that's
way back there. But thinking about like Lords of Acid was way back there. Like they've been out for over 10 years when AT came.
Popolita stuff before so.
And even Pitch Shifter, is like 30 years old at this point almost. So I'm just sort of like, oh my god.
Yeah. But no, someday, Steve, we're gonna force you to say some things about music someday.
Well, you just and
Maybe we'll
you
have a
just
special
did,
episode.
and it was great. Like that was awesome. Do it more.
Yeah.
Anarchist, hardcore, digital.
Also, shout out to Virgil Kane saying,
Grind.
"What about Kylie Minogue? She's Kylie Minogue's
What
fine.
about?
She had a resurgence this year.
She did.
But am. I mean, you know, I actually like how
Padam.
Bill offline though. I would love to talk to you more about that concept because I absolutely agree with kind of that sentiment that it is getting very cultish from a couple of perspectives. Number one, live music does not make the same amount of money it does. We saw that from the recent Mastodon article that you shared where they talk about, hey,
Unless you're Taylor Swift.
Yeah, unless you're Taylor Swift, right? But not only that, but you get into the idea of live music and showmanship and attitude that rock and roll is known for is now kind of been co-opted or done differently by hip hop. And hip hop doesn't take a full band. And hip hop is a lot of sampling and stuff like that. And in a great way, I love hip hop.
A rock band doesn't take a full band anymore.
No, it doesn't. I actually saw when I saw Static X this past week, the opening band was a 3-piece band. They had no bassist, they had no lead guitarist. It was a rhythm guitar. It was a rhythm guitarist, a drummer, and some guy doing something. But they had an amazing solo that was playing. Was not coming from the stands. So we are now in the age of TikTok music. So
yeah, it was interesting. Warpaint opened for Death Cab for Cutie and Postal Service.
Yeah,
and there were many moments that you're like, this is a loop, this is a sample, and this is not them playing. And it was integrated well, but they're not the type of group that I expected that from. So
what are you gonna do?
Oh well.
Talk about another time. Okay, so we'll wrap this one up. We are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the X and the I'm sounding like an old person here, on the X and the Instagram and the Blue Sky and the Threads as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to listen to us, you can do so by downloading us through Apple Podcasts and catching us through many of the other podcasting platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you are watching us through our Facebook live stream, thank you. If you are watching us later through YouTube, please leave a review and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that.
Hit that little bell.
What?
Hit the little bell on YouTube. It lets you know when we're going live. It lets you know when we're doing all kinds of cool things, right? So hit that little bell on YouTube. It'll pop up in case you don't keep up with us when we're doing Surprise Wednesday shows.
You don't need to do it. Bell.
No, sorry. No, for our listeners, right?
Okay. All right. Until next time, which is tomorrow. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
And I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
If you're listening to the audio version, you're going to hear Woof and an Explosion. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Woof.